My friends, cheers. Welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to the Lone Wolf Mountain Cabin. It has been a long time since I've done an adventure here. The reason that I know that specifically is because you all have let me know. I have received, like over the last couple of weeks, countless messages in regards to the cabin. Do I still have it? Do I still use it? Yes and yes. That is why we are here today, my friends. Not only that, but we are beating the heat. In fact, this is the last cool day for a long time, and right now it's about 80 degrees. It's hot. Luckily, the humidity is not sky high right now. The other day I was out here doing some work, filming some videos, testing out products. I mean, the humidity was like 100%. And it wasn't even that warm. It was like 77 degrees. But because the humidity was so high, oh man, it was just pure misery. I stepped out of the vehicle from the AC where it's nice and cool, and it was just instant soaked in sweat. And because the humidity was so high, I was soaked in sweat all day long. Most of you all know exactly what I'm talking about, just terrible. Anyways, everybody, today the high is around 81 degrees. Tomorrow, 84 degrees. The next day, 86 degrees, and so on. In fact, folks, there's no cool down in sight. There's really no rain in sight either. We are going on to a very extended period of time with no rain up here in the mountains, which is very unusual for this time of year. I mean, it's been already 3 or 4 weeks without real rain. I'm sure you all have noticed the lack of rain trips, and that's the reason why. It's dry. There's just no moisture out there at the moment. Anyways, it's gonna warm up. It's gonna be super hot for a long time. I figured we better come out here and enjoy this cabin while we can, while the conditions are suitable enough for it. You have to think, this is just a tin can, right? In the sun, it's a sauna. When the sun moves behind the trees, it's going to be the temperature of the surrounding area here, which is hot. Already, we are in good shape though. I have all the doors open, all the windows open, the top vent open. We are now in the shade for the rest of the day, and it feels pretty good. Like it's warm, no doubt about it, but at least it's not like crazy hot. For this adventure, folks, I have a very cool and very interesting cook system with me. It is called an IGT system. I tell you what, everybody, let's just go ahead and let's set this up. We might as well make some coffee because I just ran out. This is such a cool cook system. This is the IGT table with the gas burner and the grill set. And as you can see there, the table itself is customizable. You can replace those panels, you can take out the components that you don't want, and you can put more panels in. It is a very, very cool system indeed. For now, we're making coffee, but later on tonight, we're making cheeseburgers. We'll get some coals going, put them on the grill, and it'll be amazing. That's coming up soon though. For now, let's focus on making some coffee. Now you may notice that I don't have a kettle here. That's okay, I'm going to use this pot. I forgot the kettle. There is one in the cabin here, but it is so big. It's the equivalent of like parking a bicycle in an airplane hangar, you know what I mean? It's so big, it's just nonsensical. Because of that, we'll use the pot. Here in a minute, our cowboy coffee will be done. The truth is, you can make cowboy coffee in just about anything. It doesn't have to be a kettle. You can do it in a pot, just like I'm doing here. You can do it in a cup if you wanted to. The most important thing is that you have to drop in the cold water. You have likely seen me do this dozens of times. As soon as I'm done boiling, I shut off the stove, I take some cold water, and I drop it in right into the center of the pot. The cold water takes the coffee grounds and forces them to the bottom of the pot. That way you can pour everything out with no coffee grounds. It really does make a fantastic cup of coffee. And at the same time, if you have any sort of stomach issues, it's good on your guts because it has low acid when you make your coffee this way. When I go out on a trip, I like to make cowboy coffee the first day. Then the next morning, usually I'm a little bit lazy, I don't feel like doing this, so I just boil water and go with instant. Without a doubt, the cowboy coffee is better though. But the instant is faster, and if you're lazy in the morning like I am, well, pros and cons, baby, pros and cons. That, my friends, is a fantastic cup of coffee. It is so incredibly smooth. And it is so incredibly hot. The coffee has cooled down just a little bit, but unfortunately the temperatures have not. I mean, we're right around 80 degrees. Sweating pretty good here. Whew. At least I'm not in the sun, and at least the humidity is fairly low today. In last week's adventure, I was stung by a bee while out hiking. Now the thing is, I am highly allergic to bee stings, namely with yellow jackets and wasps. Now, Susie and I, we were out on a backpacking trip, just in case you didn't see that episode, and we were doing this water crossing. So we were having to be careful, go from like one rock to the next rock so that we don't plunge into the water. And also we didn't want to slip on those slick rocks. So Susie, she made it across. It was my turn to start going, and I was actually filming it. I was filming my feet going from rock to rock. There was like this tree limb, and I grabbed it to go underneath it. And that's when something stung me on the back of the arm here, right around here. So all of a sudden, of course, I knew exactly what it was. I heard the bee. Susie said that she looked back and she actually saw a swarm. I let out a triad of cuss words. I think that's a word, is it? Never mind. Anyways, I let out a whole bunch of cuss words because like, This is a big deal, right? I am highly allergic to bee stings. We hiked just a little bit, turned off the camera, and just started to wait to see what was going to happen. Because I'm so allergic to bee stings, inside of my first aid kit, I have not 1 EpiPen, but 2 EpiPens. That usually gives me enough time to make it to a hospital so I can begin receiving treatments. The last time that I was stung, I don't remember exactly how long ago it was. I was actually filming an adventure, a day hike with Susie, and there was a yellow jacket's nest in the ground. I must have stepped on it, and I got stung 2 or 3 times. I don't quite remember. Those bee stings put me in the hospital for a good part of the day receiving treatment. Epinephrine over and over and over and over. The thing is that I don't go into anaphylactic shock, but I break out in hives all over, and I mean all over. And along with that, I begin to itch all over. At the same time, I start having chills. So I do not go into anaphylactic shock. I don't have any problems with breathing. The concern is that one day I will, because when it comes to being allergic to bee stings, it is a progressive thing. I haven't always been allergic to bee stings. About 20 years ago, I was mowing the yard, and there was a bee's nest somewhere, yellow jackets. I got stung 2 times, and I puffed up like a balloon. I had welts and rashes and hives all over, started having like the cold chills. I spent who knows how long in the hospital receiving treatments. And I remember the doctor saying, it's like, anytime that you get stung, come straight to the hospital, because like the treatment that we're giving you is just barely working. It's like the amount of epinephrine that we've given you is incredible. And the fact that like it's really not doing anything is scary. I wasn't having any issues with breathing, and I still haven't had any issues, but one day that may change. That's why it's so serious. And of course, I'm not the only one who's allergic to bee stings. I mean, tons and tons of people are. It's one of those things where you might be allergic to bee stings and you just don't know it yet. The next time you get stung, you may have an issue. Hopefully that is not the case and you'll never have any sort of issues, because it is awful. Truly, truly awful. And I don't have it as bad as some people do. Anyways, on this trip, I got stung. I don't know what type of bee it was, but luckily it did not cause a huge reaction. I did end up getting some hives, getting some rashes, but that was about it. In truth, it wasn't that bad. I did have like a rash on my arm for about a week. I had swelling for about a week, and my arm was sore for about a week. But as it stands right now, I am good. For myself, it's one of those things that I have to think about and pay attention to and be careful with and hope for the best while planning for those situations as best as I can. That's why I carry 2 EpiPens with me, just in case. After that adventure went up, I saw in the comments that some people were asking like, why wasn't I more like upset or nervous or scared or something like that? And that is not who I am. I don't get nervous, I don't get upset, I don't get angry. Well, not at stuff like that. People piss me off, yeah, and then I want to fight, but outside of that, when it comes to like events and emergencies, it's all about keeping a calm head. And it's one of those things where like you really do have to train yourself to be that way. Nothing is worse than someone who's overreacting, not thinking, and just wants to act. I'm talking about the fight or flight mentality. Some people flip out when there's an emergency. Other people run away. For myself, I stay calm, I think, I rationalize, and I plan, and I try to come up with the best solution to the problem. That really is the only way to be. You have to take your time, think things through, make calm, rational decisions. Otherwise, you're just going to put yourself in worse of a situation. You're going to jam yourself up, make the situation worse. You don't want to do that. So, that's why I was able to stay calm, even joke about it. Now, the joking part, that's just more my personality, right? I tend to make jokes and try to make situations lighter than they really are. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a therapist or something on here who could tell me why that is, but that is my nature. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for the well wishes and all that stuff. I really do appreciate it. I'm doing great. Luckily, I didn't have to use my EpiPens because they are so expensive. If you don't have health insurance, you would be blown away at how expensive those things are. They are ungodly expensive. Let's see, the last one that I purchased was about $1,000, and I want to say right now it's not quite that expensive. I want to say it's like $700 for 2 of them. And that's for like the Epi brand. I don't know what like a, I can't remember the term at the moment. Like an off-brand would be. There's a term for it, I can't think of what it is, but yeah. Either way, they are crazy expensive. We are now in good shape, everybody. The current time is 5:17, 61% humidity, temperature 81 degrees. Whew, it is definitely warm, but it could be worse. I gathered some firewood, some wood that I actually processed in a previous trip, so I'll burn that tonight, later on tonight. Here in a little bit, I'll make dinner. Just in case you're wondering about our cabin here, this comes from a company called Cargo Craft, but we didn't purchase it through them. They're the ones who made it. We purchased it through a company called Colorado Trailers, I believe that's the name. I would not recommend doing business with that company. They were more than eager to answer my questions before I purchased this, but after I purchased it, crickets. We had a little bit of a leak, and I wrote them asking about the windows and how that worked. They never responded. They wouldn't respond. So basically I just had to tear the window apart, figured out how it works, fix the issue, and there you go. There is a warranty with this trailer, but once you read the fine print, it covers absolutely nothing. So the leaking, the damage, luckily it was minor, but nothing is covered. The only thing that I don't like about this trailer here is the fact that the materials on the inside, namely the walls, once they get wet, they just fall apart. So we had a little bit of a leak that was coming through one of the screws, and I'm not entirely sure what happened to the wall, but like it began to like crystallize almost like a sugar or a salt or something. So I mean, you could tell like if this thing suffered some major water damage, a major leak, it would just fall apart instantly. I have no idea why the company went with the materials that they did, but that I would not recommend at all. With that being said though, I do like this cabin a lot. I like the trailer. It is super, super heavy though. I had a hell of a time pulling it up this mountain with my Tundra with the 5.7 liter. Like the truck did it, no doubt, but you could tell it didn't like it, and I got terrible gas mileage. It was a woman from Texas who delivered this to me, and she said that even with her big dually diesel, she was getting terrible gas mileage. She said this thing was super, super heavy, and it is. I do like this thing quite a bit though. I have been thinking about putting some sort of cover over the top of it, like one of those like garage things, covered garages, I'm not sure what you call it, but something like that would add extra protection to this. And they're fairly easy to install, so I don't know, I may do that. Plus, it would keep the temperature down inside of this thing. Here in just a little bit, everybody, we'll be grilling some cheeseburgers. My plan is to make 2 tonight. I have plenty more if you want to come over. That's not true, actually. I'm sorry, if you come over, I could feed you a tomato. That's about it. Let me tell you all, this smells incredible. There's nothing like burgers being grilled. That smell, you know what I mean? As far as the time goes, 7:13. We have about an hour and a half before dark. Oh yeah, look at it, now respect it. It's well done, which is exactly the way that I like it. I do not like to see any sort of pink, nothing like that. When I eat meat, I want to make sure it's dead, you know what I mean? Some people run it through a warm room. That's not me. I do not want to see blood, I don't want to see red. Man, that is juicy though. I'm making a huge mess. I'll tell you what, everybody. For once, I'm going to turn off the camera, do no talking, and just enjoy this. Most of the time, I'm worried about filming and whatnot, and I'm just scarfing it down. So, tonight, I'll kick back and enjoy this, and I'll bring you all back when it's time for the fire. Cheers, everyone. That, my friends, may be the easiest fire I've ever started. Because it hasn't rained in like 3 weeks, just a few coals, man, this thing just took off. The unfortunate thing is, it's about 9 o'clock and it's still like 75 degrees. With that being said though, it is nice to have a fire. It's nice to hear the crackle. Plus, I need to do something to use up some time. I mean, it's only 9 o'clock. What am I gonna do for the rest of the night? I could go in there and just chill, you know, or I can have a fire. Dinner tonight was fantastic. Those burgers on point. The buns, I did burn those a little bit. Alright, I burned them all to hell, but that's okay. Sometimes that's just how it goes. Today, the temperature got up to 81, 82. Tomorrow, 85. The next day, 86. Next week, possibly 90. And the unfortunate thing is that there's no cool down in sight. I mean, as far as I could see with the forecast, it is going to be hot, hot, hot. Hopefully, with this heat, we'll get some really good thunderstorms, but we shall see. By the way, everybody, the grill, the IGT system, it performed exceptionally well. That is just such a cool product right there. The entire kit is less than $300 at the time of filming, and in my opinion, it's totally worth it. If you're someone who likes to cook, that right there is a really interesting option to consider. You have the grill portion, the stove portion, you can make it a tabletop. I think everything's turned in for the night. And here in a little bit, I will too. I'm going to get up very early tomorrow, and I may get up even when it's dark outside. And that's because tomorrow is going to be so much hotter than today. I want to get out of here, get home before it gets really, really hot. I mean, the humidity just keeps going up. It's at 75% right now, and I feel it. I really do. It's kind of interesting. It's like I'm cool to my back. I'm warm here in my front, but I feel like I'm soaking wet everywhere. I mean, just from like walking around, moving, filming today, I've sweated, I'm wet, and it's gonna stay that way. I mean, the humidity is already going up high enough where it's gonna take forever for these clothes to dry out. Until this heat levels out for the next couple of weeks with the adventures, I'm gonna have to beat the heat, and the only way to do that is to go up. Luckily, I do have places that I can go. There's multiple spots over 6,000 feet, and it doesn't take that long for me to get there, so that's what I'll do. I am very blessed in that regards. Not everyone has high elevation to go to. Heck, not everybody has as much land to explore that I do. I know I am lucky. That's kind of like a pro and a con to where I live, right? There's nothing to do here but go outside, you know? So like if you don't like backpacking, hiking, kayaking, stuff like that, you're not gonna be happy here because there's absolutely nothing else to do. For myself, I love it here. Susie does too. And I know my kids, they miss it. I have one kid in the military, in the Navy, she's deployed right now. And my son, he's going to college where it is hot and humid. Let me tell you, every time I go down to see him, I'm just like, oh my God. It is awful. It's like being back down in Florida again. I was born here in the mountains, but my family moved down to Florida when I was young. We spent a number of years down there and then came back. I've shared some of the crazy stories from Florida in the past and previous adventures and whatnot. What a wild place that was. Cowboys and Indians. That's exactly what it was too. I think I'm rambling now. I'm going to sit around the fire for a little bit. Enjoy this while I can. This will likely be the last fire that I have for a while. It's just going to be too hot. There will be no point, you know what I mean? I will see you all in a little bit. My friends, good morning. Cheers to you all. It is about 5:30 now. Got up at 5 o'clock. It's a beautiful day. And it feels incredible. Like right now it's about 55 degrees. Feels really, really good. The temperature is supposed to go up over 30 degrees today. It's going to be about 85 and humid. Speaking of which, it is sticky right now. It is very, very wet outside. Oh yeah. Some good instant coffee. A 3-in-1 with some Taster's Nasty. Puts hair on your face, on your chest. And that goes for women too, actually. It's unfortunate. But it happens. So. Sorry, ladies. After the fire ended last night, I came inside, turned on the lights, got comfortable, and I fired up a movie. I was watching Bloodsport. I had full intentions to do more filming, but I ended up falling asleep. Bloodsport. Van Damme. Awesome movie. The real story behind that movie is so bizarre. There really is a Frank Dukes. He's the one who came out with the Kumite story, the championships, ultimate fighting, whatever. And apparently it was all bullshit. And like he couldn't even get the math right as far as like the tournament goes. All that I know is that the movie is awesome. And if somebody hasn't written a story about this guy, like a true story, they should. It would be incredibly interesting. You can look this guy up and like his history, it's bizarre. Super, super bizarre. I did sleep good last night, though. Eventually. To say that I was uncomfortable when I came inside of this trailer here, that would be an understatement because it was so hot, so humid. But I got the fan going, just kicked back, laid still, and eventually I did cool off. And again, this morning it's pretty cool, but I definitely slept good. Didn't hear anything last night. I did hear one owl at one point in time, pretty far off, but that's about it. All in all, it was a good night. With the stove here, you may recognize that from part of the IGT table. The stove could be used on its own, and it can also be used with that table. It's very, very neat. You know me, I love gear, and I love really well thought out products. This table, this stove, super well thought out. There's so many features to the stove alone, it's crazy. My preview of this entire system will be up around the time that this video goes live, so make sure to check my channel if you want more information about this. A little while ago I was speaking about Bloodsport and Frank Dukes. So I was looking this guy up a little bit last night while watching the movie, and the numbers that he claimed as part of like the Kumite just made no sense at all. So let me give you all an example of this. So for anyone interested in the history behind Bloodsport, Frank Dukes is a real person, but everything he claimed is just complete bullshit. And somehow he was able to convince people that this was real. He claimed to have fought 56 consecutive matches over 5 days in 1975 in the Kumite tournament. According to him, the Kumite was a 16-round double elimination tournament. For him to have 56 consecutive knockouts, the tournament would have required an impossible number of fighters. How many fighters? 72 quadrillion fighters for that sort of format. It just makes no sense. He lied about everything. It is incredibly funny though, and I guess he's still alive and he still claims the same to this day. You know, it's funny, really, but man, I can't stand liars. You know what I mean? I can't stand that at all. I've always said though, if you're going to lie, go big. You know what I mean? Like make up something grand and bold and stick to it, just like Frank has done. But unfortunately, like most liars will just lie about just like meaningless crap. We have all known someone like that who'll just lie about anything. I never personally understood it. I don't know why people feel compelled to lie about nonsense, but they do. Anyways, everybody, that's definitely on my mind this morning. I guess because I fell asleep watching it and looking all this up. Pretty wild stuff. Alright, everybody, it is time for this adventure to come to an end. We have our coffee. It's nice and cool. It's now the perfect time to pack up and to say goodbye. By the way, folks, people oftentimes ask me what phone I am using. This is the OnePlus 12 phone. This is incredible for a number of reasons. First off, super fast charging. I could wake up in the morning, it'll be almost dead, right? I could plug it in, go brush my teeth, grab a cup of coffee, come back, and it'll be 50% charged. It is super fast. I want to say it's 80 watt charging, something like that. Not only does it have the latest processors and all that stuff, it's super quick. The most important thing to me though is reception. This has the best reception out of any phone I have used. Here in the mountains, reception is really poor just about everywhere I go, so having good reception from your phone is super important. I had the iPhone 15 Pro, the latest phone. Terrible reception, terrible antennas. You can look this up. It's a widespread problem with the latest iPhone. It has poor antennas. I couldn't even get reception here at Lone Wolf Mountain with that phone. It worked a little bit outside of the cabin, but not inside, and definitely not in the lower part. Susie has the Samsung S24, like the smaller one, but that's like the newest of that line of phones. Anyways, on our latest trip up into the high country where it was so cool, she had no service at all. But guess who did? I did. The antennas make a huge difference. And that's one of the reasons why I love this phone so much. That is the phone that I use, just in case you were wondering. And that's why I use it. Cheers. Let's pack up. right, everybody, I'm all packed up, ready to go. It is going to be a beautiful, warm day, and I'm glad that I'm all packed up, ready to go before it got hot. Cheers. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the thumbs up before you go. Also, if you want to join the Wolf Pack, you can do so on Patreon and here on YouTube. Oh yeah.